Welcome to The Human Experience, a podcast about the stories we live out every day and the importance of championing the vulnerability and courage of the storyteller. I'm your host, Jennifer Peterkin, and it was through my own lived story of experiencing domestic violence that this podcast was created. By traveling the globe and interviewing each guest in person, I am convinced now more than ever that stories have the power to change the world. You can join our community of storytellers by subscribing, leaving a rating and review, signing up for my newsletter, following me on Instagram, and more. Thank you for being here. In a world full of noise, to listen with intention is an act of resistance. Episode 55 of The Human Experience is Cecile's story. Cecile and her husband have spent the last 12 years living in the United States, but that certainly wasn't the plan originally. Born in the Central African Republic, she would spend most of her childhood there, until, as a teenager, her parents sent her to France for her education. Cecile's journey would have her living in several different places, cultivating a love of travel, and it would be during this time that she would meet her husband, a doctor. Their plan was to come to the United States for a short while for his education, but they would have to stay because war in their home country made returning impossible. The path to what brought them where they are today is winding and at times difficult, but Cecile's faith and trust in God carried her during the best and worst of times. This episode was recorded near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So, Cecile,
Yeah.
yes, you are living in the United States now.
Yeah.
But you are not from here, and it took you some time to get here. You've gone through a lot. You've lived in several different places.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of things. So I would love to hear about where you're from and your journey.
Wow. Okay, good question. So I am from Central African Republic, which is the center. It's a country, and by the name is in the center of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And the capital is Bangui. And I was born there I lived there with my family. And then when I was teenager, I don't remember when, I was sent to Europe, precisely in France, to go staying and studying. But I was just with my sister, and then when I went to France, I didn't like it, and then we came back.
What part of France were you in?
Paris.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's got to be rough.
It was rough for teenagers.
Yeah.
We were both teenagers, and I think I understood my parents. Maybe they wanted us to have a better life, but we were too young.
Yeah. And it's such a big culture shock, I imagine.
It was a shock. It was like, it was different.
Yeah.
Completely different. And I think my first reaction is, I think I got scared.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to stay. And then we went back home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we went back home. And my dad said, you cannot stay here since you didn't like Europe. How about you try another country in Africa? So we went to Senegal, which is in the western part of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Dakar, and it was good. And I was kind of in my rebellion teenagers mood when I just wanted to know everything. But I praise God because in Senegal, somebody invited me to a crusade, and it was Billy Graham crusade. And it was online. He was, I guess, maybe somewhere in Mexico, but since it was satellite, so we could watch it in Senegal. And I arrived, it was just the end of the crusade, and they just say, if you want to give your life to Jesus, I said yes. And my life completely changed.
Wow. So you didn't grow up in a Christian environment?
I didn't really. It was much more religion.
Okay.
But even that religions, I don't remember in the beginning, my parents didn't go to church. They made us go into church, but I didn't go to church.
Okay.
And Yeah, and then when I had Jesus, something weird happened to me. I just want to go back home.
Mm.
When I went back home, my view of life has changed.
Yeah.
It's like I was living in Bungie, but I wasn't because I was in something like teenager thing. And then I saw war, I saw division in the country, I saw people hating each other, and I started to pray for that. I think I tried to do my best how I could to help like some people to come together,
Mm-hmm.
and I did some stuff, but yeah, and then I had to move out because it was time for me to go. So I went to another country in West Africa. I stayed there for 5 years, and then I went back to France this time with my parents.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of movement.
It was a lot.
And is that in a relatively short amount of time? Because you said you were a teenager when you started.
Yeah.
So was this all through your teens?
I mean, it started when I was a teenager until I was kind of 25 when I
Okay.
went to France.
Okay.
I decided to go back to France because everything I was trying didn't work. I was trying to study, it didn't work. I tried medicine, I couldn't do it. Biology, I couldn't do it. And then I decided to go study marketing. It was good. I did well, but it was like I was looking for something in me.
Yeah.
And I decided to go back to France, but this time I wasn't in Paris, I was in Lyon. Lyon is the second town in France, so it was better. I lived there with my parents, and all the privilege we had in Central Africa because my dad he's a doctor and my mom a pharmacist, so we kind of have a kind of decent life in Central African Republic. Like people would say maybe rich, but inside we could just say it was just decent. But they wanted to kill him. They wanted to kill. They attempt like several times to kill my dad, and it didn't work. So he has to leave the country to go back to France. So that's why we decided we all went back to France, and life was like limited. We didn't have all the privilege. We didn't have all that thing, and living in this small apartment, and it was tough. It was really tough. And I started to feel like anxiety, a kind of depression where you don't know what is life. You have your family because I was by myself living all this time, but now I'm with my people, but they're not the same. They're going through their own limitation, their own frustration, their own life struggle, like trying to go back to the point where they were in Africa. And it was tough. It was tough on me.
I imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, just leaving the movement, your age, you're trying to figure out who you are. You are exploring a new relationship with God.
Yeah.
You are being driven out of your home.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you don't mind, I would love to go backwards a little bit and talk about the Central African Republic.
Yeah.
Because, I think that it's important to talk about culture and the things that are good and the things that shape us and who we are. And so can you just talk about growing up there and what you loved about being there?
Yeah. Whoa, good question. So how I can say it, maybe the best way for me to say it is what I'm missing. Because
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what I'm missing from there is a kind of freedom. Here we have freedom, but it's a different type of freedom. Here we'll call that freedom when you know that you can get out of your house and you can come back, no war, no coup, not that type of thing, no rebels coming and take on the country. But in Africa, it's a a kind of freedom when you know that you don't have debt on your head, you don't have to pay this, you don't have to pay that, and you have a lot of people around, and people it's like family. You know, you have your family. You speak a language that everybody can understand. And when you speak, it's like you're not different. You don't have, you have your people, you know, you have everything, you know. And yes, I miss that thing. But speaking of that, I grew up in the house. So when going back home is usually when you, like, I guess this is what you feel like when you go home, you go see the same place, like your school, your house, your friends, your neighbors. But when we left the country, some people came and broke down our house down. I remember in 2012, we went to Bangui, and I felt like I was a stranger.
Oh, yeah.
Because everything left. I didn't have that much friends, not the same house, but there were some same people you can see, and I felt like it was home. It's just a mix of two. Like you feel like this is home and you feel like this is not home.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we don't realize how fortunate we are to not have that threat looming over us all the time.
It's a blessing.
Yeah, it really is. And I think sometimes we take for granted the fact that we don't worry about that like other people do around the world. Not just, Central African Republic, but in a lot of places in the world. So, yeah, I mean, I imagine that going home after that must feel pretty disorienting.
Yeah.
Because it's not, like you said, it's really not the same place anymore.
It's not the same place. It's completely different. And with after wars, when you meet people, they're different. It's not the same mentality because all the atrocities they went through kind of shaped the view or the behavior, or you don't understand, but you still love them. You feel like you belong. This is your place, but it's like it asks a little adjustment. Yeah.
It must be. It must be. I can't say that I have that experience to be able to speak on it in any true, meaningful way, but I can only imagine how difficult and jarring it must be to walk through that.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, right? I mean, you have left and returned to your home so many times, right? And so you had this kind of resilience to an extent built up.
Yeah.
Because you had to go to France. And then you went to other countries in Africa, which, contrary to many beliefs, are not the same. They're still different culturally.
Yeah.
And then to have to leave, and it's not really a choice anymore.
It's not a choice.
Yeah.
Like, in the beginning, it was a choice because I was saying, I don't want to stay in France and my parents will take me back. Oh, I don't want to do this. And you choose when you want to leave, when you want to go. But I found out the more you grow, you have less choice. You have choices, but you don't use them quick.
Yes.
Because every choice has the consequences. And now you know the value of consequence.
Yes.
You be careful with what you say and what you choose because you don't want to suffer after your choice.
You are so correct. Correct. It is the blessing and curse of youth, right?
Yeah.
Because there is something to it that allows you to kind of step out of your comfort zone in an easier way. And because you don't realize what could happen. You don't have the life experience yet to kind of stop yourself. And so sometimes it works out and it's great. But when those consequences hit.
And it's just sometimes you don't want it.
Yeah.
But I'm missing that point, missing food. food, good food, like you don't have to think, and people would just come to your house just like that.
Yeah.
You don't expect people to come, but they will come. It's funny, but it's not. Yeah.
It's part of the culture.
It's part of
and
the
it's
culture.
not part of our culture, right? At
It's
all.
not.
It's very much like you call.
You call. But even me today, this is what is funny. Even me today, I still need. Now I'm taking that culture here. That you would like to know if the person is coming or not.
Yeah.
But also, yeah. But also, I'm happy if somebody will just come like this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's almost like you have adopted a lot of it because you've been here, right? And you're around people, and it's normal to kind of adopt something like that.
Yeah.
But then if it happens, you're like, okay, this is how I'm used to doing things.
Yeah.
So when I said I was coming over today and you had no idea.
I had no idea. But I said, okay.
You did.
Yeah.
You're like, here's my address.
Yeah. Yeah, but I still like this.
Yeah.
I like it more because it breaks some barrier between people. And I think we can always meet at the restaurant or somewhere, but when we go and visit each other where they live, it's like you going to the person intimacy to know a little bit. It's better.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming here.
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. It is truly my pleasure.
Thanks.
And to see you and Ame and your littlest one who's not so little anymore.
No.
So you mentioned food.
Yeah.
Which, I've only been to 3 countries in Africa, all very different, but the food was fantastic in all of them. So what is the food like in Central African Republic?
Okay. So if you have noticed it, every time you travel, food is about the geographic, the climate, the weather, how everything are. So if you go like in Fez, it's dry a little bit. So it's going to be more dry food. Mm-hmm. But in Central Africa, it's more like rainforest weather. So you have a lot of rains. So we eat a lot of green stuff like vegetable, leaves, and my favorite food, what I'm missing a lot is they call it cassava leaves.
Yes, yes.
You know that?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Yeah, it's cassava leaves. So, you can have it with beef or fish.
Okay.
And then you add some peanut butter with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really good. It's healthy. And
it sounds good.
Yeah, it's just food. I miss it.
It's comfort. It's comfort food.
It is. It is. And the smell and how is it? So we like it.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears again a little bit, but if you don't mind me asking, what was it about? Why was your family targeted? Is it just because he had an education and was trying to help other people?
Yeah, I mean, now it's much better. But 20 years ago, we had a group of leaders coming to take the country. And there are some strategy that people are doing before taking control of something. They bring division. And they can use whatever they want, like, I like red, you don't like red, so you're not for the country. And in our country, it was people from the south and people from the north. Okay. So I am from the south, and my parents were in France. They studied everything in France, so they came back, and they didn't know in the country. We didn't have enough like qualified people to do the job, so they were leaders. My dad was the dean of the medical school. My mom was the director, maybe CEO of the national labs in the country. And she had her own pharmacy. And she was also a professor at a university. My uncle, the founder of the children's hospital, and he was also a dean. So it was in my family. When my uncle left, he made everything. He made somehow like people will follow him to go in France. So a lot of people went to study. So when they finished, they came back. And when they came back, there were people will see them, people will know them. My dad was on the TV, my mom was on the TV, so they were popular. And it brought jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
Jealousy. And because of jealousy, there were one of the students at the university got a problem. I don't remember exactly what happened, but he wasn't happy. And then he said, "You people from the South, you are the one to destroy the country." And the government at this time was a government from the North. And then he went to the university trying to kill my dad. He couldn't. And my dad called the police. No one came, no one helped him. And when he was home, they were even coming like to threat him, sending like a message to say, "We're gonna kill you. This is how we're gonna kill you." He got somebody like a guard, like a personal security to help him. But they will say, "Don't worry, it's not because you have somebody to help you, we're gonna still kill you." So it was just later that they were throwing in our front yard, on our front yard. And it came to a point like it was too much because when you call the police, you don't have help. He didn't have help. He asked all the people to help him. So the only thing he could do is to leave the country.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he left the country earlier because right after it became really bad. And that's somehow it was inside of me that I felt rejected by the country. I felt like if you guys wanted to kill my dad, so that means you guys are rejecting us just because we are from the South. That's not normal. And then being abroad, you feel like this is not home. So I was like not having a stable place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be so difficult to feel almost the sense of betrayal.
Yeah.
Right? From your home, and to feel like it's one thing to leave when you want to, and to know that you can come back.
Yeah.
It is something entirely different to be forced to leave. Yeah. So where is most of your family now?
I think most of my family are in France.
Okay, they stayed in France.
They stayed there in France. And I have some here, two here. I mean, we are all three here in America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my brother came here before just for study. And then I came because I got married with Aimee, and my sister came because of work.
Okay. Are your parents still living?
They're still in France.
In France.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you ever go to France to see them?
I went in 2022.
Okay.
But just for a few weeks. We're planning to go this summer.
That's exciting.
Yeah, with the kids.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And have any of them been before?
No.
Oh, that's so exciting.
No.
Oh, I'm so happy that you guys are getting to do that.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, so you guys have left. You're in France.
Yeah.
What's next?
And in France, again, I don't know what happened with France with me at this time, but I didn't like it.
Oh, no.
I didn't like it.
That's okay.
Yeah. Maybe now I would like it better, but I had a big expectation from the country, like this is going to happen. And I left. My sister asked me to go live with her in London. So I went to England. I lived in London to learn a little bit English. I took 1 year, and after I got married. But
so is that where you met your husband?
I met my husband when I went back after Senegal.
Okay.
And we just met like this. And then I left. He went to Morocco. Where you been?
Okay, yes.
He went to Morocco, and I was in Europe this time, and he contacted me. So we were in touch, just talking, and we fell in love with each other, and we started to date online.
Yeah.
We did everything online. And I went to visit him twice. And in 2006, he proposed me. He said, let's get married. I was so happy.
Yeah.
And in 2007, we got married. And I felt like the best thing after being married is to go live in Morocco.
Okay.
So I left Europe, London, my comfort and everything to go live in Morocco.
So you guys, he's then again also from Central
African Republic, like me.
And what is his background?
So he is a doctor. He was in Morocco to study medicine. So yeah, that's why he was there. And then I went and met him there.
And was he, when he went to Morocco, was he planning on staying away from Central African Republic, or did he also feel like he couldn't go home?
No, not at all. He just wanted to finish quick and go back home. That was his plan. And actually, I was telling him, I don't think it's the right time to go back, because I had that thing in my heart, like, yeah, it's like, no, because it's not time yet. But after he stayed there, he stayed in Morocco for a long time, 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Morocco?
5 years with him.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe how long he was there. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, 14 years he was in Morocco.
Wow. In Rabat?
In Rabat.
Okay.
In Rabat.
He lived in Rabat?
Yeah.
Wow. So interesting. So, okay, you guys are dating online. You're in London with your sister.
Yeah.
Where did you get married?
In Morocco.
In Morocco.
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been fabulous.
It was beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It was it was beautiful. Yeah, the only thing again is like, okay, I left London just to go and get married. So I didn't have friends.
Yeah.
I didn't have people. I had my family, but I was happy. And then I had to start a new life with my husband and his connection, his network.
Yeah.
Because I came from him. And I'm glad that we had a good church. So the church was good. It was very easy to plug in. And I went to school.
Okay.
It was good.
Is that when you went to school for marketing?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I started marketing in France. I did 2 years in France. And then I went back to Morocco. I did 3 years of marketing. So
wow,
totally 5.
Your life is incredible. I don't know where you found all of the time.
I know. Like, yeah, now I'm sitting and think about it. I said, I don't know. I think that's why I was talking to you about choices.
Yeah.
I had so many choices. I could do this, could that. And I used that a lot, but I missed some time. So,
yeah. But you know what? Then it just wasn't meant for you.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't meant for you.
Yeah.
So when you moved to Morocco, you obviously also lived in Rabat. And you were there for 5 years.
5 years.
He was practicing medicine in Morocco.
Yeah.
So then what comes after Morocco?
What comes after Morocco? I want to talk about something he was kind of healing for me when I was in Morocco, and it's super important to me. Like in Morocco, when we were there, Moroccan people, I mean, Morocco is in Africa, but there is another kind of mentality. At this time, I don't know now, I guess now they're much better than before. They were seeing Black people like slaves. That's how they were calling. Yeah. So,
what?
Yeah. So when you can walk like a child can call you slave. That's how, and coming from Europe for a country where it's freedom and this, it was hurtful. It was like painful to me to know that I am called slave and I shouldn't say anything.
Wow.
Because they're kids. But I've learned that it went to trigger the pain of my country, like the South. and the North. It's like, no, why? And then I felt like those people is just because they don't know love. And I switched it because I spent like 2 years. I was isolated from the Moroccan people, didn't want to have anything with them, trying to live my own life. And then when I decided, I said, what if they just don't know people or love? I decided to go towards them, showing love, just being who I was. And I can tell you, there are the good people you could ever imagine if you know how to live with them. And my heart about being rejected or things like that was healed. And after we went to Central African Republic to take the visa to come here.
Okay.
So when we were there, that thing about the rejection from the South and the North wasn't in my heart anymore.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's huge. I mean, because first of all, not that it even needs stating because it's very obvious, but that should not have happened. That was very wrong. But you are right. We can't control what other people do. We can only control our reactions. And if you're dwelling on this and becoming bitter and resentful, it only hurts you. So being able to kind of wrestle with that in your own heart and mind and be able to come to a conclusion, a redemptive conclusion that is very much about love and loving other people.
It's about love.
It is the most beautiful way to handle that. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. And that shaped me completely because I was telling you I was in Senegal and I didn't like it because in Senegal they have this thing again. They call you slave because you're strange. It was like, every culture has the paradise and hell. But if you want to know people, you cannot say, this is how they are. I don't want them. No, every people, they're different.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy it. So coming here in America, I know the history of this country, but I can tell you, and I praise God, that God put us here in a very good position. Like, I won't say I don't see stuff like that or I haven't been through this, but it's such a love. There is a place for everyone here. If you embrace the culture, if you put a shield on your heart and you just walk with love. And I know, to me, maybe it's easy to talk about it, but it's the love of God can help you because God just loves us as we are. We are stubborn sometimes, we're rejecting him, but he still loves us. And if we can have this everywhere we go, I think we won't see differences between people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Very much. And I think it's a good reminder too, for those of us that live here, because it can get very, we're very much in a bubble in a lot of ways because we don't have the access that, because we're so landlocked and the United States is so big.
It is big.
It's kind of like a lot of people are just here and that's the only place they ever go.
Yeah.
And so there's, on both sides of the spectrum, feelings about the United States that can be really damaging. And both things are true, right? Like things can always get better.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of good things as well, right? And so to hear from your perspective of what you have experienced here is, I think, really important. So thank you.
I thank God when we came here, the first thing, I speak French. I'm a French speaker, my husband as well. And to switch and start to talk, and you have to talk another language. And it's not just speaking English. It's the way you speak because you have an accent. Is the word you say, because that word means something else in London.
Yes, yes. British English and
British is
American.
different. So it was like I was lost in the beginning, but I got very good friends who told me that, and I still use it, and I'm using it now. It's like when you want to talk to people, make sure that you will say what is in your heart. If you have to use words or signs or whatever you want, make sure that you will just empty what is inside of you. So we were fortunate. We got very good people around us to teach us English and able to correct us. Or when I said something wrong, they will repeat that to us. We didn't have money to go to school, because if you come like a student, it's very easy. But we couldn't.
Yeah.
Because when we came for my husband's study, and right after like few months, we had a coup in Central Africa, and he was supposed to have a scholarship. They cut that scholarship. No money to live, no money for the rent, no money. So it was really tough.
That's an understatement. Oh my goodness.
It was tough.
You know, I think it's important too. I love your willingness to learn and your openness in embracing the whatever culture you're living in. I do think that's important. But I think it's equally important that us living in this culture already are open to listening, you know, because you're saying like you should just speak what's in your heart. And there are so many things about communication that transcend language, right?
Completely.
So I think it's important that you try to fit in or whatever. I feel like that's a terrible way of saying that, but you try to acclimate to where you are. But it's equally important that people that are already here embrace the differences that we have with each other, because they don't have to be bad things.
Exactly. But it was what I don't know if this is for everyone, but for our experiences, my husband and I, we didn't need to pretend to play or to take a role of an American, like speaking like American or behave like American. No, we were just accepted.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad that was your experience.
Yeah, we were accepted. It was, and think about it, it was a gift. Yeah, we were just accepted as we were. It was, we had some people, of course, but we were accepted.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So you went from Morocco back to Central African Republic, and this was to start to get a visa.
A visa.
And it was specifically for studies.
For study.
Okay.
The visa we took, it was for studies, but we didn't know what type of visa we needed to have.
Okay.
Because we just knew that it was here. And there is something funny. You know, as you say, America is big.
Yes.
So the choice of the state, we didn't know where to go. And then we were thinking, and Amy said, you know what? Medicine, I heard that is more in Philadelphia.
We do have a lot of it.
So, let's go to Philadelphia.
Oh.
That's how
I'm glad that you
So that's how we chose Pennsylvania, and wow, it was a good choice.
But this was obviously a continuing education, because he was already practicing medicine. He had been practicing medicine for years.
Yeah.
So he was going for continuing, you know, higher level education or specialized education, maybe. Yeah. So how long did it take you to get your visa to come here?
The visa part was so fast. We didn't we didn't struggle at all.
Oh, I'm glad for that.
At all. We went to the embassy, to the consulate embassy. I don't know where was it, but we went there, and I remember the room was full with people. And we were in the middle of this. And all the people who were before us, they were denied it. Nope, nope, nope. So we were like, okay.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
And then we went, and then that guy, I don't know what happened. He just gave us the visa and said, I don't know. And his concern was, I don't know what type of visa I should give to you because you don't have any proof like you're going from a university. So I cannot give you a student visa. But he found a kind of visa, but that visa, you cannot work with that. It's not, it's like a visitor or tourism, but it's not, it's in between. So we took that visa. It was a year visa. We were so happy. And then we left the country and we came here at the airport, and the guy at the border, I don't know how you call him,
Border control.
the border control. And so he said, okay, you don't have, I don't know what kind of visa is it. You're not coming for study. You don't have this. So I don't know. So you will have just 6 months in the country.
Oh.
After 6 months, if you don't respect it, you are illegal and it's a crime. So that was the beginning. I was like, okay, great.
So he was going for study, but he didn't have. Was he not in a university program yet?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
The plan for us is to come to take the test, the USMLE test, and then after to apply for a matching and then to be in.
Okay. And then you would just keep extending on a student visa
and then,
after that.
Yeah. When you have it, now the hospital, because it's the study or thing, can make a paper so you can go now apply for the student visa for this special program.
Okay. But he had to test into it first.
Yes.
Okay. And so he had an agreement basically with a school or a hospital in Central African Republic about a scholarship?
No, the scholarship was from the government.
From the government?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense then why it did not come through. So he was going to test and then the government was going to give him the scholarship.
The scholarship.
Once he tested?
Yes.
Okay. And so you guys are in Pennsylvania.
We were in Pennsylvania.
He's getting ready to do this, and then how long after you were here did the coup happen?
The coup happened first when we came. We had the 6 month thing. We thought it would be a year.
Yeah.
So this was already a panic. And then I don't know, maybe I don't remember how many months was it after we came. I forget now, but it was like less than 6 months because the limit was 6 months. I think when you arrived next to 6 months, we asked for, what's the name, when you can push it back, like ask
an
for extension. We asked for an extension, so we got an extension. And after that extension, that's where stuff happened in Central Africa.
Wow.
And we say we didn't want to be asylee here. That was our thing.
Yeah.
We just want to go back home. But nothing was changing back home. Things were getting so bad. We didn't have any support for the government, and we didn't want to be without paper, without document here.
Yeah.
The only option we had is to be asylum. So we filed for asylum.
Okay. And you got that.
And we got that.
You got asylum status. But were you still, like, did that take a while to happen?
6 years.
Jeez.
6 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the stress you're living under.
It was stressful.
Because then are you technically illegal until that comes through?
You know, the system here is when you apply for any kind of status, they give you a paper. It's like they call it the working permit. And my son, which at this time was 2 years, had the working permit. So
all right, send them out.
Go work.
Yeah.
So he has the working permit. And you can drive with it. You can have your driving license. You can find work. At least you can live here.
Okay.
But
there is an interim period where like it wasn't like you guys were looking over your shoulder waiting for somebody to come like tell like you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, no.
While they were deciding, while you were waiting for this to come through, you were still okay.
We were still okay, but not really okay because you don't know the decision.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah,
don't
sure.
Know, yeah, you don't know if they're going to say yes or no.
Yeah.
But it's just such a limitation that it's a limitation. Like you cannot do that much. When you don't do this, they say, oh, you don't have the resident status, so we cannot do the green card. No, you can do this. You can't do that type of work. You can. So it was kind of.
So you're very limited.
Yeah.
And so could he work in his field at all?
God is so good that he found work in a clinic and he was able to work.
Okay.
Till today.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So he's still in the same place.
Yeah.
So how long was he not allowed to work? Because the visa you originally came over on, he wasn't allowed to work, right?
He wasn't allowed. And I'm happy that, we did it. I thank God. We didn't have because when you apply, you got to wait for them to respond to you, to give you the permission to have the working permit. But in between, when you can work and you have the working permit, it was tough for them to see his family not having an income. And he was a man to be like, he's a provider. And the easy choice was to go work and you have money under the table.
Yeah.
But we say we don't want to do that.
Okay.
So we paid the price. We suffered. It was tough. People judged us to say, you should leave the country. What are you doing here? If you are a responsible husband, you should do something. Like we heard a lot, but we felt like this is what God wanted us to do, is to wait on him. So we wait patiently, even though it was tough. But we didn't want to speed up stuff like while God wasn't in it. And he got the working permit. And even with the working permit, he started like a waiter. No, not even a waiter, a busser. I don't know if you know, in a restaurant in Philadelphia. And after he found a job in the clinic, and till now, I praise God for him.
Good.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I praise God.
I'm so glad that he was able to find that job in the clinic. Am I remembering correctly, though, that it is not, there's limitations on him because of licensing in America versus...
Yeah, because, this is in each country. When you go somewhere, they just wanted to know if what you learned overseas is the same thing here. So he needed to take the test, but taking the test it was a long process. And our situation, we got kids, and to sit and study and think about providing. And so he tried the test and didn't work. But God is good. He started as a French interpreter in the company.
Okay.
And today he's a director. So
is he really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I thank God for. That's why I said. I would say that I know that you can have your own country, you can be good somewhere, but I think wherever you go, you can make that place to be home for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
We should be able to. And we should be able to do that. And other people should embrace that.
Yes.
Because you just never know where life's going to take you.
You never know.
You never know if you are moving to America for studies and then your government just falls apart.
Yeah. For us, we say 5 years, but no.
You were going to be here 5 years and then go back.
Yeah, that was our plan.
And how long have you been here now?
Now it's 12.
Wow.
12.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about going back yet.
Okay. Now, how are things now in Central African Republic?
I heard that it's much better, but I heard that there is corruption, but there is no war. That's what to me is good. I don't know how is the government today. Some say he's bad, some say they're doing good. So I really don't know yet. I wish I could go there one day and go see by myself and having my own judgment.
Yeah, scope it out for yourself.
For myself to know if
before you actually make that move.
Yeah.
Is that ultimately, is that still home for you? In terms of like,
wow,
do you want that still at this point?
At this point, I don't know. Seriously, I don't know. I think because that's the problem with me. It's home somewhere.
Yeah.
But since I left the country super early, I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So the attachment things, no, not really. So just to say, if I add like 3 more years here in America, it's going to be the same time I've spent in my own country.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is home, but I know that now here is like, I'm feeling more, I don't know, maybe here is getting more like the normal thing where, you know, but I hope I will be back. And I know that God is calling us to go back home one day. And when the time will come to go, we will pray for him to renew everything. But I told my husband, especially me, if I will have to go, I won't just go to say this is home. I will go and take the country like others country and start to go through the door of the culture, learn again how the people are, see how they behave, and learn how I can be myself in this culture, which is maybe mine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yours, but so much bigger, right? I mean, you have so many different things added in. So yeah, it makes sense that you would have to relearn. I
will need to relearn. And then like, even when I talk to him and say, see, this is our culture. We do this, we do that. He said, which culture?
That's fair.
Yes. Because I'm mixed in everything.
Yeah.
Stuff in West Africa, because it's Africa. I put it in my culture, but it's not in my culture. But finally, home is where you can find people you love.
I agree.
Yeah.
Were all of your kids born here?
Yeah, except Johnny.
Johnny was not.
Yeah.
He was born in Morocco?
He was born in Morocco, so he was 6 months when we come. But definitely 6 months.
Yeah. Essentially, they all grew up here. So I'm sure that holds some weight for you too. I mean, you've had your children here.
Yeah.
It is you have become a different person here, grown into motherhood here.
Completely.
Yeah.
And raising my kids with this environment, and even myself, I'm shaped, is the part of your life you learn more about yourself. Because when you start to have like to reach to a certain age, the identity problem comes more out.
Yeah.
So you go through it, and I think it's sometimes when God wants to work in your heart or God wants to change you, he makes you leave from where you are.
Yeah. Get a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about your kids? Like, I'm sure they obviously know about where you're from, but is that something that you've talked about with them, and like wanting to go back to even just visit or, introduce that to them? Is that something they think about?
My in-laws are more in a Central African Republic.
Oh, they live there still?
They live there. So when we talk about Central African Republic, I can talk, but it's vague.
Yeah.
It's still vague to me. But I can explain stuff. I can say things. But what I know is France.
Yeah. It's been so long.
Yeah,
for
it's
you.
been so long. And I can talk. So I teach them like now we're planning to go to France. And I'm just talking to them how life is in France, how is wild, how is different, how is this, how is that, because I know that there will be like a culture, the shock of culture.
Yes.
So I get them ready. Now for Central African Republic, when I left, it was war. When I left, it was this. So I cannot talk about this to them.
It's basically a different country now.
But but that's why I say I need to go see that difference
for yourself,
for myself, so I can teach. And I don't really I can talk about when I was little, but why we left or how we left or now.
Yeah. Absolutely. I understand that completely.
Yeah.
Do your kids speak French?
No.
Oh, really?
No. I think they just understand because when I'm not happy, I tend to use French.
So they know all of the angry words in French.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure visiting France will be an exciting time for them. Will this be their first big international trip?
Yeah. We just travel in America. America is big.
America's huge.
It's huge. So we like traveling. So we just drive. We like that. But going aboard and with them and the food, the culture. So I hope if they do well in France, they can do well in Africa.
Yes. Yeah. Baby steps. Got to do one at a time, right? Yeah, that's good. Where is your favorite place to travel in America that you've been so far?
I love Pittsburgh. It feels like it's a little bit home.
Oh.
And how people behave there. People are like in Europe.
Okay. I have a couple of friends in Pittsburgh who I'm sure would be very happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, they're fancy. So... Yeah, like Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's fun. What is let's do some fun stuff about your American culture shock. What is...
Let me tell you.
Yeah, tell me.
My first shock when I came, we had a friend and we had a friend. So she got married and 2 years or a year after we met them, as a couple now, we were invited to their marriage. So when we went, I saw him. I said, "Look at you. You look so happy. And you gained weight. Good job." He was shocked. He was like, he didn't like it. And I'm glad his wife was like, no, Aimee was quick jumping and say, no, it's a compliment.
Yes. Yeah.
From Africa, when you just got married and you gain weight, it's telling you that good job. Your wife is doing good. She's taking care of you.
Yeah.
But I learned my lesson.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's so interesting. How something you met so sweet.
Because gaining weight in Africa is not bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a sign of health.
I
don't know if it's true, but yeah.
But I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
What about American food?
American food.
Is it a love-hate relationship?
Yeah. There's some food I just don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some I just like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite and your least favorite?
My favorite, what is here in America, I found out there is not a typical American food, but it depends from the
city to,
city and family's background.
That's true too.
Yeah. So my heart goes more with Italian food.
Hey, I love to hear that.
So I love all kinds of Italian food.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
love
I like it. So Irish, yes.
Okay.
But most of all Italian food.
Okay. Is there anything you don't like? American food that you're like, I prefer not to have that?
Not really.
No, you'll try it all.
I try.
Good for you.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting because like with the comment that you said about the man after he got married, it's just things like we wouldn't even think of, right? Like that's, and if I came to Central African Republic, it would be the same thing. I would say things and people would be like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know. I don't know the culture enough to not say that. But so, yeah, it's so interesting to hear where our differences are and to be able to laugh and take it in stride.
Yeah.
And just say, you know, people are doing their best.
Yeah.
And it's okay that it doesn't, you know, we don't always understand fully.
I know. And there is another thing. Here in America, you can easily, because the country is so big.
Yeah.
And people got different accents just for the country itself.
Yes.
And so it's not a problem about talking about somebody's accent.
Yeah.
By coming from another country, if you are a foreigner coming here and somebody talk about your accent, it's like, it's a shock.
Okay.
Because you felt at this point like, oh, I have an accent. Oh,
sure.
I'm not accepted. Oh, but it's the way the country is itself because it's big.
Yes.
And there is freedom of talking about differences. But when you put it in foreigner, like he will say, oh, I'm not in the mix of this.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, this was a problem for me because every time they will say, oh, you have a different accent. And I was like, oh, no, how they knew it. But I've learned how to say yes and talk about it because it's not bad.
No, it's not.
It's not bad.
It's not. But I imagine that it can feel a little bit like the spotlight is being put on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, you can see all my flaws. And even though that's not how it's meant most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand why it would feel that way. But I'm so glad that you've embraced it because I think it's important to talk about, you know.
It is important. And
where
it's
you're
not
from.
bad.
No, it's not.
The intention behind is not bad. It's just people would like to know what is different in you.
Yeah. Where is a place in America that you haven't made it to yet, but you'd like to go?
I don't know. I just want to go to Maine.
Yeah.
Why?
I haven't been either, but it's on my list too.
And I don't know why, but I want to go to Maine.
I mean, I've heard great things. So
yeah,
I think you should make that one happen.
I would like to go there.
Yeah.
I just like Maine. Maine was good. I mean, Maine, I heard good stuff about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not just going to go there during winter time. You know?
That's fair. I don't think. Yeah. How do you like the cold weather?
You know, living in Europe for years.
Yeah.
I thought like, oh, I know what is winter. Winter is, oh, I know what is snow. No, I know snow. But when I came here, no. No.
Really?
This is not winter and snow they know over there.
Okay.
Inches of snow.
Yeah.
And super cold in the beginning. And yeah. So
and you can't walk. I mean, where we are located, you know, you're not in a city. So when you're snowed in, you're snowed in.
Oh, yeah. It's super big here.
Yeah.
And when you got snow, you're home.
Yep.
But I know lately we didn't have, except this year, but the year before.
Yeah. This year we've had some.
This year we got a lot. But before we didn't have that much snow. So yeah, weather was something. And I remember I was struggling every time we were celebrating fall and going after, especially in November. I was like, oh no, snow is coming. Oh, I don't like winter. I don't like winter. And I don't know, but finally I started to enjoy it because a lot of stuff was happening during winter time. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that you embraced it in a way.
But not completely.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I haven't embraced summer. So, and I've lived here all my life. So I could do without the humidity.
Okay.
But yeah, I know other people are very excited for summer to come. And I'm always like,
I like summer, but I don't like when it's too hot.
It gets so hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have on the East Coast, especially, the humidity is just outrageous. So it is not my favorite to deal with. But, I know there are hotter places than Philadelphia. So I'll have to just deal with it, I guess. Yeah. So is there anything in your story that we didn't cover that you would like to talk about?
Let's talk about church.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah. My thing before coming here, as I told you, I was in Africa when I gave my life to Jesus. Mm-hmm. And when I went to Central African Republic, it was kind of the same thing because it was in French. And there are some songs we used to sing over there. And France, kind of the same thing. But when I came in America, I was a little bit, in the beginning, it was a little bit shocked because it was different in the sense where we were worshiping God, but in a different way. And I was like, is God? What is that? What do we still like? It's the behavior of the culture.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, you have culture.
Yes.
But when you take off all this, you still feel like it's the same God we're worshiping everywhere we go. Mm-hmm. Even in a language you don't understand, you can still feel the same thing after all. So church has been a very good help for us. Mm. Church is not just the building, but church is people. People being together to love you, to teach you, to help you. I still believe that church can be a big answer. If we behave like what God wants us to behave, if we take down our own view of things, if we take down what is selfishness or our ego or our things like that, just to trying to display the real Christ in us, to have a pure heart, church can change a culture. Church can be a weapon to bring hope and life. And I think church could be an answer if we forget about ourselves.
Wow, that is powerful. That's very powerful.
Thank you.
I definitely struggle with church here after traveling. It has been something that has been really hard for a lot of reasons, but just specifically talking about the different ways that we approach God around the world. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been everywhere, so I can't pretend to be an expert, but I will say that there is just such a different approach, a different reverence.
I like reverence, yeah.
Yeah, to God, to people in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very interesting to step outside of yourself and realize that not everybody is doing it this way. Yeah. And there are multiple ways to do it, and to kind of box ourselves into this one way of church is to also box God into that as well. Yeah.
So I still believe that, I hope, and that's my hope now. And it is sad because you're not the first person to say that a lot of people are stepping down, leaving churches but how about as a Christian, we just decided to leave the Bible anyway? Like, forget about, it's not just forgetting. It's not important to put ourselves before other people. That's not Christ-like behavior. So maybe that's the point I just wanted to talk about. That's my desire now, is for church to be church.
For church to change.
For church to change.
To change the world and to change communities.
Yeah.
Yeah. For church to be community.
For church to not You are using the word boxing ourselves. It's like church is working out of fear because we don't want outside to come and change what is inside. We locked the door. We stayed just with our friends, the people we know, because we don't want to be contaminated by what is going on outside. Jesus wasn't that like that. Jesus was open to people. He got all kind of, even prostitutes were able to come and touch Jesus. So that's where my heart is right now, is how can we make church to be affordable to everyone, not changing what we're doing, but changing our approach to people.
Yeah. And sometimes even changing our hearts towards people.
Yeah.
Because it is ego driven or self driven or even sometimes, and unfortunately, hate driven.
It is.
So yeah, that is super powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad I asked if there was anything else you wanted to talk about.
Church. Yeah.
So I do have one question that I ask everybody at the end of each episode. And I think your church thing might have actually answered some of it. But the question is, through the lens of your experiences, everything you've walked through in your life, how has that shaped how you view compassion?
Compassion is my heart. I have two words I love a lot: love and compassion. And this is exactly the same thing we were talking about earlier, church. Compassion is when you love, and you love with mercy. You love with no expectation to receive something back. Is how you are ready to get down from your throne to go and help somebody out of the mud and bring into your palace. And compassion is, to me, how we can be possible not to jump quick to judge people, trying to understand and to love them as they are. So, but compassion is not changing the way you are, like the way you think, which is your core beliefs, but is how you can love. I will make this like Jesus loved his people. He got so much compassion. He knew that the people who were walking after him were coming just for food. He knew it. He knew that the same people will screaming, Hosanna to the Son of David, tomorrow will say, crucify him. Yeah. He knew it. But he saw the pain. He saw the limitation. He saw how they were suffering. So he gave them what they needed, even though he knew that they won't follow him one day. Wow. So compassion to me is loving people as they are.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Truly.
So what is your definition of compassion? I'm curious.
No. I think it's so interesting because I ask everybody this question because it started with myself and how my broad view of like defining compassion didn't really change, but how I practiced compassion changed.
Yeah.
When I went through my own experiences and realized the gaps in where I was trying to meet people because I now had my own suffering and my own parts of my life where I didn't feel understood or I didn't feel loved. And so I realized, well, that has to be true for everybody because we don't escape this life without suffering.
No.
And so, we're meeting people in their suffering and, not necessarily trying to fix it, but pouring over them love and mercy, grieving with them, lamenting with them, which is not something we do well here in America. We're very uncomfortable with that. But sitting in that and bearing witness to it and really just kind of staying the course. And it's honestly why one of the biggest reasons why I do all of my interviews in person, because I really believe there is something so powerful in bearing witness and proximity to somebody's story.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And also it's good when somebody wants to listen to your story.
Yeah.
You feel like, okay, you got ear to listen to you and you can take care of your life. Like, now you know that you can talk about yourself to people. You do well.
Yes.
So good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you are so generous with your time and your story, and I'm so thankful. It's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
And you have a beautiful heart. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope this will be a blessing for someone.
I know it will.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you for listening to The Human Experience. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends and family, share it on social media, and rate and review it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also support the podcast financially by going to my website, thehxpod.com, linked in the show notes, and clicking on Donate. It takes a lot of time and resources to create this podcast, so every little bit helps. Everyone has a story, and I'd love to hear yours. So be sure to check out the show notes for more information about how to stay in touch. Do good and love well.